If you are subscribed to Seattle Seahawks Today, then type me right now in the comment section. The first 10 people who do so are going to get a shout out on our next video here on Seattle Seahawks Today. And if you're not subscribed, well, you're still eligible. Just go subscribe right now and type me in the comments section. Seattle Seahawks Today is presented by Manscaped, the #1 men's grooming tool on the market. 20% off at manscaped.com when you use promo code Seahawks, a must-have tool with Valentine's Day just around the corner. Our first story today involves on bringing back a familiar face. Could Seattle rehire Gus Bradley as their defensive coordinator? ESPN 710 discussed this idea. And to be blunt, I love it. Bradley was the Seahawks DC from 2009 to 2012. That was a big factor in the start of the Legion of Boom in Seattle, which, let's be honest and upfront, never going to happen again anywhere, even in Seattle. Got to dial back your expectations. But I think Dave Wyman of ESPN had some good ideas and good thoughts on bringing back Bradley. Quote, I don't think they're going to take some drastic departure away from the kind of defense they've been running here. If you look at it that way, and that's going to be that way whether you like it or not, you want somebody that's familiar. I mean, you would want someone like Gus Bradley, I would think. Ed Donatel, he and Pete Carroll have coached together, but it was a long time ago. And I don't know, I feel like this one is different. I would love to hire Gus Bradley as the Seahawks defensive coordinator. Yes, the usage of cover 3 is probably a little bit higher than what you might typically want in the modern day NFL, but I do think you have some great safeties and even some good corners who fit that fairly well. You retain DJ Reed or bring in somebody else, a name we'll get to in a little bit. I think could certainly make some sense. I think Jamal Adams is a great fit in that Cam Chancellor role in the Seahawks cover 3 style defense. So because of that, I'm all aboard the idea of bringing back Gus Bradley. If you're going to hire like a Joe Witt, I feel like Gus Bradley is just a better version of that type of guy. We'll spend some more time on this topic here in just a second, but first, I want to hear from you guys. Should Seattle bring back Gus Bradley? Type in a Y for yes or N for no. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So you get the ad break here on YouTube, well then go take advantage of it. Type in Y for yes or N for no. Let's remember what Bradley did way back when, 2009, 2012. This, my friends, is what improvement looks like. And yes, it's points per game. It's impacted by the offense. I get all that. But they went 26, 25, number 7, number 1. If you get even 2011 type production, I think you're over the moon with that hire of Gus Bradley. I thought he did a better job with the Raiders in his one stint there as well in terms of being able to maximize that unit after Paul Guenther was, let go of in Vegas. I don't know if you're going to get top 10 production, but the points per game went up, or went in the right direction, I would say. The rush yards and passing yards got cut pretty significantly. The sacks went up as the Raiders were able to maximize a very potent duo of Yannick Ngakoue and Max Crosby. Takeaways didn't change that much. In fact, they did not change at all. But growth in points per game, growth in passing yards and rush yards per game is a big deal. So I think Gus Bradley, with a very impressive, proven track record in Jacksonville to an extent, of course back in Seattle with the Chargers and with the Raiders, is a perfect candidate to bring back to Seattle if in the event the Raiders don't retain him. That is not necessarily a guarantee. So we'll see what happens. But I think Gus Bradley, a reunion, would be a fantastic idea for the Seahawks. Like I mentioned earlier, today's show is presented by Manscaped. And Valentine's Day is just around the corner. And our sponsors at Manscaped are here for the best tools to get you ready for that special day, evening, or morning, or whenever. Join the 4 million men who trust Manscaped. And you can get 20% off and free shipping on all their top-of-the-line men's grooming products when you use promo code Seahawks at manscaped.com. That link and the promo code will be in the comment section and in the description. You set the night up properly. You don't want to have some disappointment later on, so make sure you're using Manscaped. Again, it is 20% off at manscaped.com when you use promo code Seahawks. Let's talk trade rumors now, one of my favorite things in the NFL. First up is Xavien Howard. Now, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler put some what he called under-the-radar trade candidates this offseason. I don't really consider Xavien Howard under the radar, but yeah, whatever, we'll make it work. He mentioned Seattle specifically as a trade destination for Howard. Seattle this past year had been linked to Howard in some capacity when the initial trade rumors popped around him this time last year, or a little bit later this time last year. Seattle had some injuries and consistently have several free agents set to hit the open market at the cornerback spot. Here's what Fowler wrote for ESPN. Quote, Howard wanted to trade over the summer absent a new deal, and Miami just put a Band-Aid on the issue, adding $3.5 million in incentives to his 2021 bottom line, but that doesn't solve this issue. Howard is 7th among cornerbacks in per-year average, about $15.1 million, less than teammate Byron Jones, $16.5 million. The Niners need corner help in the worst way, and elsewhere in the NFC West, the Seahawks can say the same. Now, if you were to trade for Xavien Howard, you would have to give him a pretty substantial pay raise. And I understand why the Dolphins didn't want to do that, because they just paid him, and that's how the market works. You're almost never going to be the number 1, number 2, number 3 highest paid guy unless you're signing profoundly short deals. Do you want to bring on Xavien Howard and pay him, let's just say $19 million per year, a nice even figure? You can make it happen if you want to. You have the cap space. You can make even more by restructuring the deals of Russell Wilson and or Bobby Wagner, and you've got a ton of cap space at the current moment. So doing it is a possibility for the Seattle Seahawks, and Howard would be an instant impact playmaker at the cornerback position. The past 2 years, 15 interceptions and 36 pass breakups. Was he as good this year as he was in 2020? No, of course not, but you're not always going to have 20 pass breakups and 10 INTs. If I promised you 16 pass breakups and 5 interceptions, I think we would all be pretty happy about that in terms of having one of the premier corners in the NFL. Now, the issue you run into is not only are you paying a premium for that, even if you do redo his deal and the Dolphins eat some of that money, you're also giving up draft capital. Would the Dolphins take your second-round pick for him? Could work, but now you're light on draft capital to fill other needs. So investing money in draft picks is tough right now for Seattle, given how much they've done that already. So should Seattle trade Xavien Howard? Type T for trade or type in P for pass. Speaking of cornerback, that is my number 1 need entering the offseason for Seattle because they've got so many key free agents at the position. If you lose your top guys, it's Trey Brown and Michael Jackson. It's not a good grouping at all. Nigel Warrior? Not great. That video, thumbnail looks like this. It is already on the channel. So make sure you are subscribed. That way you don't miss out on any video from us here at Seattle Seahawks Today. If you want free updates every single day on everything going on around Seattle, the news, the rumors, draft, trade, free agency, coaching, you name it. We got you covered. Hit that big red button and subscribe. This time, a trade-away candidate, LJ Collier. Same article but by Jeremy Fowler of Under the Radar Trade Candidates. Collier makes sense if somebody wants him. Let's be honest with what he's been so far in his NFL career. The former first-rounder has been a bust. He has not had remotely the level of impact that you need to have out of your first-round selection, and that is a big issue in Seattle. Here's what Fowler wrote. Quote, what's funny is Collier became more of a factor after his name had swirled at the trade deadline and Seattle didn't trade him. He averaged 22 snaps per game from weeks 10 to 18, but with Seattle transitioning to a new defensive coordinator, changes could be on the way. LJ Collier for his career, stuck behind, what's most troubling is guys like Rasheem Green, who were a third-round pick. 33 tackles, 5 TFLs, 3 sacks, 3 pass breakups, made next to no impact in the stat sheet this past year with a tackle for loss. That career production, that's what you're supposed to have if you have a not-so-great first year as a first-round pick, not your entire career so far. So I've got no issues shopping LJ Collier. I would save some money and get, maybe if you're lucky, a late-round draft pick back for him. Maybe you keep him and hope for a Rashad Penny-type breakout down the stretch and get something in terms of production. I just don't think there's a ton of value for Collier. He could be a great candidate to be traded during the NFL draft as well. Let's talk Von Miller. Not the first time we've mentioned him, by the way, but NFL Analysis Network says Seattle is a top free agent destination. I'm not so sure. Vaughn, of course, was dealt from the Broncos to the Rams at the trade deadline, had a big-time bounce-back season this year, and is playing great in the postseason and looks like good old Von Miller. Seattle was actually number 2 on the Von Miller destination list. The Patriots, number 1. Okay. Seattle, 2, and the Chargers at number 3, which I actually think makes a lot of sense for Von Miller given the presence of Brandon Staley. So should the Seahawks sign Von Miller? 1 for yes, 2 for no. I'm down if the money is right. Here's my problem. I don't think the money would be right. So let me know what you guys think. 1 for yes, 2 for no. I'm also on record saying I'm not convinced that edge is their biggest need. Bring back Carlos Dunlap. Play Darrell Taylor more. If you want to keep Rasheem Green, okay, cool. If not, you can play Benson Mayowa, or Alton Robinson a little bit more. What I want, I'd rather spend my money on a big-time defensive tackle if I would be lucky enough to find one. But if you bring in Von Miller, I'm not going to complain. So I don't think it's that likely, nor is it like the number 1 guy you got to sign. But if you bring in Von Miller, I mean, the guy's Von Miller. You can't be angry about that, right? I mean, that's the type of all-in move that I want Seattle to make this offseason. So I don't want to set anyone's hopes up high. I don't want to say it's a must type of move. But if it happens, how can you complain?